So many of the people in today's class are asking about, are we late for CAT 2025 or are we late for GMAT? Even I think one of the students by the name Karthik, I recall, was one question in the chat. What is an idle time or the duration if you're preparing for CAT or a GMAT? Now, this is a very relevant question, and I think in today's class I have seen many of the students asking the same question over and over again. So let me address the elephant in the room. The answer is yes as well as no. But I don't want to make an off-the-cuff kind of a remarks. I don't want to give a remark just like what I think. I'll give you some kind of a scientific understanding of the whole answer I'm giving. See, there is a movie, I think you must have seen, सभी movie के तो fan होते ही हैं. एक movie है Seven. Seven Sense, you understand the same thing. Same kind of similar kind of a memory का एक book है. There is a famous book by the name Seven Sense of Memory. Just like Seven Sense and everything, I think आप सबको वो recall होगा कि there is a movie by the name Seven in which I think सबके favorite actors Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman was there. So in that movie, the same kind of a thing, there is a book by the name Seven Sense of Memory. In this book, what exactly they are talking about is how mind remembers and how mind forgets. So what exactly the relevance to our this discussion is, actually they introduced a concept by the name forgetting curve. What they said was, the forgetting curve says that in 4 to 5 months actually the mind overrides itself. So what exactly the mind is doing is, the mind actually is learning, unlearning and relearning. I can understand थोड़ा सा odd लगता है क्योंकि mind we always say is very powerful. हमें लगता है कि mind is everything. But actually mind के भी there are some limitations. Okay, in that seven sense of memory, there was a one limitation in the mind they talked about was a transience sin. In the seventh sense of memory book, they introduced a concept by the name of transience sin. उसका meaning क्या है basically? कि in 4 to 5 months, or rather people start forgetting in days, weeks and months. So if you're preparing a concept, let's say if you're preparing a lecture, if you are preparing for an exam, any kind of an IQ test like CAT or a GMAT, actually his mind is unlearning and relearning. So the last lap becomes the most important lap. I meant to say the last lap of 4 to 5 months is the most important and the crucial for your journey. Now, let me coming back to the elephant in the room, and which is, are we late for CAT? See, there are many people who are preparing for 1 year, started in January and all. There was even one group, I think many of the students even started from last year, April and March. So the first batch for CAT 2025 actually started in 2024 March somewhere. So the point what I'm saying is, have they done any mistake? The answer is no. So the point what I'm saying is, let's say I'm addressing both kind of a groups, in which the first group is the people who are preparing from January, let's say. The most important part for them to remember is this last part actually will play the most crucial part. Zyadatar students are getting affected, or I would say, I will not use the word burnout, lekin as a burnout kind of an effect is seen in many of the students. So what exactly happens in many of the students is, people do very well, very good preparation in the initial 6 months, but the last 4 to 5 months they were not very keen, or they were not very hard working into it. They were not working hard towards their goal. So what exactly happens in that case is, your mind is having a limitation of learning and relearning. So the point what I was saying was, in that book actually a forgetting curve kind of a concept was introduced, which I've seen in all of the students, even in your life you must have seen in many of the times, that what exactly happens is your memory is actually overwriting, your mind is actually overwriting in 4 to 5 months. So the people who have actually started in January, they will need many kind of reinforcements if they want to have that memory retained But if you ask me, I would have started, if I would have been going for the CAT for the first time, I would have started in July, in August, sometimes like that, maybe the end of July, I would have started. Why I'm saying it? I am saying the last part of the memory, the last part of the preparation will matter much more than the initial phases of the thing. But I'm not saying, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि जो बच्चे पढ़ चुके हैं, जनवरी से पढ़ रहे हैं, they have done any mistake. The only thing is they would have to remember, उनको एक चीज़ याद रखना है कि ये last part is the most crucial part. So mind is having a limitation capacity, एक limiting factors are there. So try to understand that limiting factors actually will affect your performance. So what kind of a reinforcement you have to do? If you are preparing from July, August, let's say I'm addressing both kind of students in this live class. So we have more than 400 बच्चास. जो बच्चों ने अभी जुलाई अगस्त में स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, that's the most ideal time to start for CAT or GMAT. Now I'm addressing the people who have started in January, let's say, or last year, let's say. They would need reinforcements. What kind of a reinforcement you think about? Now in the forgetting curve, when they introduced the concept, what they said was, if you will not do these things, you will actually start forgetting what you have learned. Okay, so the first thing which you have to always remember in reinforcement is, I call it spaced repetition. Spaced repetition. You have to repeat it. You have to learn it once more and have a spacing around with that. I meant to say, if you're prepared for a concept, let's say some concept in para summary or a para jumble, and let's say that strategy works for you, it might. So what exactly you have to do is start doing a spaced repetition. After some kind of a duration of times, start revising it. Number two, the most important thing which I've seen in most of the learning models is an active recalls. Active recall is what? Let's say I'm taking a class, I'm doing an active recall. I'm trying to remember what I learned in that model. I'm talking about the books. I'm just trying to give, just like I'm doing an active recall. I was talking about a book, I was talking about forgetting curve, transient and everything. The same thing you have to keep on doing. अपने concept, अपने learning को एक kind of a, I would say, active recall karo. So the first step is spaced repetition. Second is active recall. One more thing which I think works very well with most of the student is try to develop interest into it. I've seen most of the people who do very well in their life are the people who don't do learning or who don't see अपनी पढ़ाई को या अपने duties को, they start enjoying it. So try to develop an interest in it. Even I always tell my students that you do micro learning kind of a thing. Micro learning means what? Now micro learning means जब हम हर चीज़ को एक proof से या एक understanding से concept में समझते हैं. Now in this class even I've seen many of the students keeps on asking me shortcuts of quant, DILR and everything, and verbal and everything. But the point is, the day you start concentrating on the shortcuts, what exactly happens is you will not do the micro learning. Actually, why should I call it micro learning? I think micro learning looks like more like a teacher kind of a word. If you want to develop interest into it, try to understand it. I think you will develop much more better interest into it. Micro learning, when I'm saying asking you to break your education into parts or into the basic blocks, what I'm just trying to make you understand is you will start enjoying the subject. For example, quant. If you know the basics very well, you will enjoy quant. I think the most easiest topic of all subjects is maths. Why I always say maths is the easiest is the things which you learned in the primary class. Actually, that is only working the whole throughout. Even if you are doing, let's say, PhD in rocket science, then also the concept which you have learned in your primary class is working. That doesn't happen in verbal. Verbal ka every RC, would be coming from anywhere. Even the person who would be prepared, who would be taking, let's say, is a topper and is even scoring more than 99 percentile in verbal every time. That person also is not very sure when he is giving the verbal in the CAT that whether he has done it right or wrong. But in maths, everyone knows it. Reason being, वही concept है, वही primary class का concept चल रहा है. So the fourth thing I will talk about is the micro learning. थोड़ा सा micro learning से you will start enjoying the things. And I think learning में, if you develop an interest, if you start enjoying, that will work much better than any forced kind of a work. Formula notes, revision notes actually helps you in reinforcing. So the students जो अपने फार्मूला के नोट्स बनाते हैं, रिविजन नोट्स जो बनाते हैं, वो बहुत उनका reinforcements होता है. Now one more thing which I always tell my students, and even in this live class I was telling one student was, error logs are very important. Now in error logs, even try to develop 4 sections into it. The one thing is the concept mistakes which you are doing. Second thing is the application mistakes which you are doing. So 4 sections bana lo error logs mein. One is the practice issues. Let's say if you have done a mock and you are seeing an error which you can see that practice could have helped you more, so put it in the practice session. And the fourth most important section in the error log should be common sense mistakes. I actually do many common sense mistakes, and I'm not feeling bad in telling you that I do mistakes in addition and subtraction many of the times. But what exactly I'm saying is common sense mistakes, har ka mind pe some limitations are there. The idea, you can't change your mind, but the idea is to recognize that mistakes so that you become very much, I would say attentive whenever that thing will happen in the future or over and over again. Mind maps and the visual aids obviously will help. So what I would like everyone, tell me what are the things I talked about. Reinforcing in the learnings are very important. First thing, bachas, I talked about the spaced repetition. Yeah. Second thing I talked about was the active recall. Active recall में से क्या बनेगा? Mind muscle memory. What is mind muscle memory? When you drive, let's say, many of the times you will do things even unconsciously. We call it reflex actions or kind of a thing, in which you practice it so much that you are not even knowing what you are doing, but you are doing it correctly. I'm saying develop that kind of a mind muscle by active recalls and spaced repetitions. Spaced repetitions, active recalls. Third thing is the creating interest. Fourth thing I talked about is the micro learning. Micro learning थोड़ा लग रहा है भारी वर्ड, तो समझ लो, बेस को समझो. Try to understand everything on the basic level. You will start enjoying it. It will look like a story to you. It will look everything so logical. Okay. And formula notes, revision notes, error logs, keep a section by the term common sense mistakes, concept mistakes, application mistakes, practice mistakes, mind maps, and the visual aids, obviously things. I know everyone thinks कि mind बहुत powerful है, but mind has limitations. हम हिंदी भाषी जो लोग हैं, I think they will understand. एक कबीर का दोहा बोलते हैं, क्या है? करत करत अभ्यास के जड़मती होत सुजान, रस्सी आवत जावत से सिल पर पड़त निशान. So what exactly it's saying is, more than intelligence, it is a hard work which helps you. And what hard work helps you? Why it helps you? Reinforcement of your learning. Spaced repetition, active recalls, micro learning, develop an interest in what you're doing, revision notes, concept notes, formula notes, and let me add one more thing, not borrowed ones. I know notes सभी borrow करना चाहते हैं. Every notes it's a customized thing. So one person note will not be helping you. So that's what I think I have answered the question. Let me put it in a short form. The most ideal, the Karthik who asked, the most ideal time of the duration is 4 to 5 months. But the people who have preparing for 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, they haven't done any mistake. The only thing they would need is much more reinforcements. Okay, so try to understand it is the last lap which will matter the most, and most of the students actually falter. यहीं पे mistake करते हैं कि last lap they are much more lenient. Reason being हमने तो सब पढ़ा हुआ है, हमें सब पता है. But your mind has some limitations. I'll give you an example to you. Just see how the politicians work. Let's say politicians को हम 5 साल के लिए elect करते हैं. But many of the times you will see what politicians do is in the starting 1 or 2 years, that is after getting elected, first year they will do everything. Doesn't matter masses को क्या फ़र्क पड़ रहा है या population को. Reason being they know that को last के 2-3 साल में कुछ freebies देना वो करके and positive effect create करके they can win elections. So what exactly they do is 1 or 2 years in the starting they will do whatever they want, irrespective of whatever how it affects the population. But when you will see the last 1 or 2 years, they would be very much inclined towards the voting thing, how the people are seeing them, what kind of, and they change the perspective. And many of the times what happens is when the voting is happening after 5 years, the last month actually they start gifting you, they start giving cash, even distributing the liquor bottles and everything. What exactly that actually helps them a lot. So the point what I'm saying is many of the people are actually very much inclined or very much I would say interested in knowing how the mind works.